The first thing I heard was the glass. Not a toast, not celebration. A sharp, careless clink, like someone setting a bottle down too hard, followed by the cold weight of liquid hitting fabric. My sister, Tessa, had her arms around me in what looked like a normal pre-ceremony hug. Her cheek brushed mine, her voice soft enough to pass as affection to anyone standing a few feet away. Then she tipped a full glass of red wine straight down the front of my white tuxedo. It didn't splash, it poured. Slow, intentional, a dark line, cutting from my collar to my waist, bleeding across fabric tailored to fit me like a second skin. For a split second, the groom's suite froze, then the room inhaled. A groomsman swore under his breath. Someone muttered, "Jesus, is that real?" Phones came out automatic, instinctive screens lighting up, cameras pointed like I was a headline breaking in real time. And in the doorway, like they'd been waiting for it, my parents clapped. My mother actually clapped, not surprised, not confused, pleased. My father let out a short laugh, like he'd just watched a perfect punchline land. I looked at them, and the strangest part was how normal they seemed. Like this was just another moment at a family barbecue. Like I wasn't standing there, soaked through, watching my wedding unravel before it even started. Tessa pulled back just enough to study my face. Her eyes were bright, too bright. "You're not getting your perfect day," she whispered. I didn't react, didn't raise my voice, didn't touch her, didn't give her what she wanted. I looked down at the stain, then back at her, and felt something settle into place. Quiet, heavy, final. "You have no idea what you just did," I said, low enough that only she could hear. Her smile flickered. Behind her, my mother stepped forward, voice already lifting for the room. "Don't be dramatic," she called. "It's just a suit." My father crossed his arms, watching. "Maybe it's a sign," he added. I didn't answer them. Not yet. I raised a hand, not to argue, not to defend myself, to stop everything. 5 minutes, I said, voice even. The room didn't quiet immediately. It hesitated like people weren't sure if I was serious. I turned my head slightly toward the wedding planner standing near the mirror, her face pale, eyes darting between me and the phone still pointed in my direction. 5, I repeated. "No one comes in. No one records me changing. If they try, you call security." She blinked hard, then nodded. "Marcus," she started. 5, I said again. Flat, final. That was enough. Behind me, my mother scoffed loud enough for the room to hear. "Security for who?" she asked, amused. I looked at her then, direct, unblinking. "My family." The word landed heavier than I intended, not loud, just clean. Tessa let out a sharp laugh. "Wow," she said, stepping forward like she was enjoying the attention. "So now you're kicking us out on your wedding day." My father chuckled under his breath. "There he is," he said. "The real Marcus." That phrase. It had followed me my entire life. Anytime I said no, I was the real Marcus. Anytime I pushed back, set a boundary, refused to play along, I was showing my true colors. Difficult, arrogant, thinks he's better. They'd used it long enough that I was supposed to believe it, that protecting myself meant something was wrong with me. But I wasn't 16 anymore, standing in a kitchen, trying to explain why I didn't want to apologize for things I didn't do. I didn't explain now. One of my groomsmen, Daniel, stepped toward me, hands unsure. "Man, we can fix this." I shook my head once. Not aggressive, not emotional, just no. I turned away from the mirror, from the stain, from the room full of people waiting for me to react the way they expected. And I walked out. The hallway outside the chapel was bright. Music floated in from the main room, soft and rehearsed, like nothing had gone wrong. Guests turned as I stepped into view. I saw it happen in real-time: curiosity, confusion, recognition, phones tilting upward, faces shifting, hunger. I kept walking, didn't rush, didn't stop. Behind me, I heard Tessa's voice rise, louder now, aimed at the crowd. "Ask him what happened," she called. "Tell them why you're acting like this." My mother followed right behind her, voice carrying easily. "He's always been like this," she said to a cluster of guests, like she was explaining weather. "Can't handle attention unless it's on his terms." Attention. That was their favorite word, because it turned discipline into ego, because it made independence sound like arrogance. I didn't turn around, not for them, not for anyone, because if I did, I knew exactly what they'd see, not control, but the version of me they'd spent years trying to create. And then Tessa went further. Because ruining the suit wasn't enough. She wanted the whole thing. My marriage, my name, the version of me that was about to step into a different life, one that didn't include them. I saw it happen before I even heard it. She moved past the guests, slipping through the hallway like she belonged in every conversation, like she had the right to rewrite mine. Lily was standing near the entrance with her bridesmaids, already tense, already searching for me. Her posture was tight, her eyes scanning the crowd like she knew something was wrong but didn't have the shape of it yet. Tessa stepped in close, said something low. I didn't catch the words over the music, but I saw the effect. Lily's shoulders stiffened, her head tilted slightly, her eyes shifted not away from me, but differently, like a question had just been planted. And questions don't belong on a wedding day. Tessa's mouth curved at the edge, subtle, controlled, satisfied. My father followed a second later, placing a hand on Lily's shoulder like he was offering comfort. Hey, he said, voice calm, carrying just enough for the people nearby to hear. We just want you to know what you're walking into. My mother nodded beside him, eyes soft with practiced concern. We're trying to protect you, she added. Protect her from me. I walked straight toward them, not fast, not aggressive, just direct. Lily looked at me the second I stepped in front of her. Up close, I could see it clearly now, the confusion, the doubt, the part of her trying to reconcile two versions of the same person in real time. I didn't explain, not here, not in front of them. If you believe anything they say before you ask me, I said quietly, then this isn't a wedding. I held her gaze for a second longer. It's a warning. Her throat moved as she swallowed. Marcus, she started. I stepped back, turned, found the planner again across the room. Cancel it, I said. Clear, measured, no hesitation, behind me. My mother laughed like I'd just said something ridiculous. Oh my God, she said. You're actually doing this? Yes, one word. Tessa didn't even try to hide it anymore. Her smile widened, open, victorious. Good, she said. Run. That's what you do. My hands were shaking. I kept them at my sides, shoulders square, because I'd been here before. Different room. Same pressure. Cornered, watched, expected to crack. And I didn't. I turned away from all of them, the noise, the cameras, the people waiting for a breakdown, and walked toward the exit. No speech, no scene, just the end. I didn't stop walking until the doors were behind me. The air outside hit cold, clean, no music, no voices pretending nothing had happened, just space. My car sat at the far end of the lot. I moved toward it without looking back, even though I could feel it, the weight of eyes, the ripple of voices turning into a low, restless noise behind me. By the time I got in and shut the door, my phone was already lighting up, calls, messages, unknown numbers, Daniel, the planner, a couple of Lily's friends. Then Lily. I didn't answer. I pulled out of the lot and drove. Didn't pick a direction, just away. The road opened up in front of me, empty enough to think, but my phone kept flashing like an alarm that wouldn't shut off. I let it ring, let it buzz, let it burn itself out. Then a message came through. My mother, you embarrassed us. Don't bother coming back. I read it once, didn't respond. Back, like I belonged somewhere they could lock or unlock depending on whether I played my role correctly. I set the phone face down and kept driving. There was only one place I was going. The only place that had ever been quiet without feeling empty. My grandfather's house. He was still there, still sharp, still the only person who had ever looked at me and believed me when I said, "They're not joking." I pulled into his driveway and sat there for a second, hands still tight on the wheel. The adrenaline was fading. What replaced it wasn't panic, it was clarity. Tessa didn't just spill wine. She picked a fight with a version of me they'd never seen. And this time, I wasn't going to explain it to them. My grandfather opened the door before I knocked. He always did that, like he was already watching the driveway, already reading what was coming before it reached him. He took one look at me, at the stained jacket, the tight shoulders, the way my hands were still locked at my sides, and stepped back. "Come in," he said. No questions in the doorway. Inside smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. Familiar, not perfect, honest. He shut the door behind me and turned the deadbolt, one clean click. "I saw your mother's car at the chapel," he said calmly, "and your sister's face. That's enough context." I nodded once. He gestured toward the couch. "Sit." I sat. He went to the kitchen, poured 2 coffees. Came back like this was routine, like this was what you did when someone you cared about showed up bleeding without noise. He handed me a mug. "Tell me what happened." So I did. The hug, the wine, the phones, my parents clapping, Tessa whispering like she owned the moment. The way they pivoted it into a story. The way my father tried to poison Lily before I could speak. I told him I canceled it. I told him about the message. Don't bother coming back. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took a slow sip and stared at the wall for a second, like he was confirming something he already knew. They wanted you to beg, he said. My jaw tightened. Yeah, they wanted you to break in front of a crowd, he continued, so they could call you unstable and feel justified. I looked down at the coffee. My grip on the mug had gone white at the knuckles. I didn't, I said. His mouth shifted something close to respect. No, he said. You didn't. I exhaled once. Tessa said something to Lily, I added. Didn't catch all of it, but I saw it land. He nodded. She planted a story, he said. That's her tool. What if Lily believes it? He leaned forward slightly. Then she's not your wife. Simple, clean, no comfort layered on top. It hit hard, but it steadied me. He set his cup down and looked at me the way he used to when I was younger, when I needed truth more than reassurance. You remember what I told you about people who cheer when you're hurt? I nodded. He tapped the side of his mug. You don't hand them your future, he said. Not to punish them. A pause. Because you deserve peace. The word sat there. Didn't feel natural. Peace, I repeated. He leaned back. Now, he said, tell me what you're going to do next. I didn't answer right away, because I already knew. I just hadn't said it yet. I stared at the coffee in my hands for a second longer than I needed to. Then I looked up. I'm not going back, I said. Grandpa didn't react, just nodded once. Like that was the only answer that made sense. Good, he said. Silence settled for a moment, not empty, just steady. Then his eyes shifted slightly toward the hallway behind me, toward the back room he used as an office. You've been strong in silence for years, he said. My chest tightened, because he wasn't talking about the wedding. He was talking about everything they never saw. I'd been the problem child in that house as long as I could remember. The one who didn't ask for help the right way, didn't stay small enough, didn't play along. So I stopped showing them anything real, and I worked. Started with the jobs no one wanted, maintenance shifts, late nights, weekends, property management companies where people burned out fast, and no one paid attention if you stayed quiet and did more than you were asked. I learned everything: leases, tenant law, repair cycles, budgets. Watched owners treat buildings like systems instead of sentiment. Then I started small, one duplex that needed more work than it was worth, then another, then a building nobody wanted because it didn't look good on paper. I didn't need it to look good, I needed it to work. I fixed what was broken, waited when it made sense, reinvested when numbers lined up. No headlines, no announcements, just growth. I kept everything clean. Basic LLCs, simple accounts, nothing flashy, nothing that invited questions. Because attention wasn't safety, control was. Grandpa was the only one who knew. Not because I wanted recognition, because I needed one person who wasn't waiting for me to fail to know I wasn't. He'd helped me early on, called it a loan, never asked for it back, taught me how to read people across a table, when to talk, when not to, mostly when not to. Now he was watching me the same way he had back then, not proud, expectant, like he'd been waiting for this moment. For years, they thought you were nothing without them, he said. I nodded. They still do. His mouth twitched slightly. Then let them, he said. I held his gaze. For now, that part mattered, because this wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about deciding when and if they got to see the truth. I'm going quiet, I said. Grandpa didn't ask what that meant. He understood. How quiet he asked anyway. No posts, no statements, no explaining myself to people who already picked a side. I replied. I let it die on its own. He nodded once. Good. I leaned forward, resting my forearms on my knees, thinking it through as I said it. I'll handle the logistics, I continued. Vendors, cancellations, whatever needs to be cleaned up, but I'm not turning this into a public argument. Because that's where they win, Grandpa said. I looked at him. Yeah, my phone buzzed again, on the table between us. I didn't reach for it, didn't need to. I already knew the pattern. Anger first, then control, then something that looked like concern, but wasn't. They're going to push, he said. I know. They'll want you to react. I won't. He studied me for a second, like he was checking if that was real, or just something I wanted to believe. You don't owe anyone a performance, he said. I exhaled slowly. That landed. Because that's what it had always been in that house performance. The right reaction, the right apology, the right amount of guilt, anything else. And you were the problem. I'll answer people on my terms, I said. One-on-one, no audience. Grandpa's eyes sharpened slightly. Who gets access? I didn't hesitate. People who ask directly, I said. Not people who listen to them. He nodded. That's how you separate confusion from intention. I reached for my phone then, finally flipping it over. Notifications stacked on top of each other. Missed calls, messages, screenshots from friends. Clips already circulating. Didn't open them. Didn't need to see it to know what it looked like. I unlocked the screen and started typing. First message planner. Thank you. I'm sorry. Cancel what you can. I'll handle the rest privately. Second groomsman. I'm good. Don't engage online for me. Third Lily. I paused for a second before writing. Not emotional, not defensive, just facts. I didn't cheat, I didn't lie. My sister staged the wine. My parents supported it. Whatever she told you was meant to make you doubt me in public. If you want the truth, meet me alone, no one else. I read it once, sent it, then I turned the phone off, set it down like I was closing a door. Grandpa watched the whole thing without saying anything. 6 hours, that's how long I left it off. 6 hours without noise, no opinions, no accusations, no pressure to respond, just space. It felt longer than it was, but when I turned it back on, my chest felt different, not lighter, clearer. There was one message waiting from Lily. Just one. Tell me where. I'm coming alone. I read it once. Didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to. Because timing mattered now. Everything did. I set the phone back down and looked at Grandpa. I'm not chasing anyone, I said. He nodded. Good. He replied. Let them come to the truth if they want it. And for the first time since the glass hit my chest, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was deciding. We met 2 days later, a small coffee shop on the far side of town, the kind of place no one films anything, because no one cares enough to look twice. Chipped mugs, quiet conversations, neutral ground. I got there first. Sat with my back to the wall, facing the door, old habit. Lily walked in a few minutes later. She looked like she hadn't slept, eyes red, shoulders tight, the kind of tension you carry when your version of reality just got pulled out from under you. She saw me and stopped for half a second. Then she walked over and sat down across from me. Didn't reach for my hand, didn't pretend things were normal. Good. I'm sorry, she said immediately. No build-up, no excuse attached. I didn't know what was real. I nodded once. Yeah, I said. Confusion wasn't the problem. Confusion is human. Being told a story in the middle of chaos. Surrounded by people, presenting it like truth that gets inside your head. I wasn't here to punish confusion. I was here to see what she did with it. What did she tell you, I asked. Lily swallowed. She said you were using me, she admitted. That you've done it before, that you marry for stability, keep things hidden. She hesitated. That you had someone else. The words hung between us. I didn't react, didn't defend myself, didn't get louder. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay, she repeated. Yeah, I said again. That tells me exactly what she was trying to do. I reached into my pocket and set my phone on the table. Tapped once. Played a short clip. Not the whole scene. Just enough. Tessa's arm around me. The tilt of the glass. The slow pour. My parents in the background clapping. The whisper at my ear. The part you didn't need audio to understand. Lily watched without blinking when it ended. She didn't look at me right away. She stared at the table like she was recalculating something. Then she exhaled. She did that on purpose, she said. Yeah. And your parents, they supported it. She nodded slowly. The pieces were lining up. I slid one more thing across the table. A screenshot, nothing dramatic. Just a clean calendar log, work entries, property walkthroughs, meetings, time-stamped, consistent. A life that didn't leave space for the stories she'd been told. Lily looked at it, then back at me, her jaw tightened. I should have asked you first, she said. You did now, I replied. That mattered, more than anything she could have said in that hallway. She reached into her bag slowly, pulled something out, set it between us, the ring. I don't want this to end like that, she said, but I don't want to be someone you have to convince either. I looked at it, then at her, not with hesitation, with clarity. I'm not deciding anything about us today, I said. Her expression shifted slightly. What are you deciding? She asked. Access. The word sat there, clean, controlled. She nodded. My family doesn't get it, I continued. Not physically, not financially, not through you. She didn't argue, didn't defend them, didn't try to soften it. Okay, she said. Simple. That told me more than anything else. I stood up. She followed a second later. We walked out together, but not close enough to pretend we were fine. Outside. The air was cooler than it should have been. Lily stopped near the curb. Whatever you decide, she said. I'll respect it. I looked at her for a second. Measuring, not emotion, consistency. Good, I said. Then I left. No promise, no closure, just a line drawn where things would either hold or break. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one forcing it to stay together. 2 weeks after the wedding fell apart, I moved out of Grandpa's place. Not because I had to, because I needed my own space again. I took a small 2-bedroom unit on the edge of the city. Neutral walls, a view of a parking lot. Nothing that invited attention, nothing that asked questions. That's the thing about building something real in silence. You don't live like a billboard. You live like someone who understands that visibility attracts the wrong kind of interest. So I kept everything the same. Work, numbers, schedules, no posts, no statements, no explanations. And my family, they didn't reach out. Not at first. They were too busy believing their version of the story. That I'd collapsed, that I'd run, that I'd finally proven them right. But reality doesn't care what you believe. It shows up anyway. And while I was rebuilding my routine in silence, their life started cracking in places they couldn't laugh off. I didn't know the details yet. I didn't need to. You can feel it before you see it. The shift, the tone, messages that stop sounding confident. Calls that come in at different hours. At first, it was anger. Then it turned into something else. Questions. My mother's texts got shorter. My father stopped giving instructions, then stopped texting at all. And then 2 months after the wedding, Grandpa called. I was standing in my kitchen, coffee in hand, looking over a renovation timeline when his name lit up on my screen. Marcus, he said. His voice was calm. It always was. What's up? I asked. There was a pause. Not hesitation, calculation. Your mother called me, he said. That was enough to get my attention. What did she want? Another pause. She asked if you were still being stubborn, he said. I let out a quiet breath through my nose. Sounds like her. Then he added, and she asked something else. I didn't speak. Asked if it was true. He continued, that you own half the rental properties on the east side. My grip tightened around the mug. They didn't ask questions unless they were desperate. And they didn't get information unless something had slipped. How would she even I think they saw you, he said, on television. The words didn't register immediately. Then they did, and my chest tightened. Channel 7, he added. I didn't answer, just grabbed my keys. 10 minutes later, I was in his living room. The TV was already on. Grandpa sat in his recliner, watching me more than the screen. Put it on, he said. I picked up the remote, switched channels. A local news anchor smiled into the camera. Like it was just another segment, normal, routine. Then the footage changed. A renovated brick building filled the screen. Fresh paint, new windows, people gathered outside. I knew that building, every inch of it. I'd walked it before it was worth anything, before anyone cared. A reporter's voice cut in. A once neglected property now bringing new life to the east side. The camera panned, and there I was, not in a suit covered in wine, not in a moment anyone could twist, standing steady, navy blazer. Clean posture, a pair of oversized scissors in my hand next to the mayor and a few city officials, a ribbon cutting from last month, something I'd kept as low profile as possible, because attention wasn't the goal, stability was. The reporter continued, led by local real estate investor Marcus Hale, founder of Hale Street Holdings, founder. The word hit different out loud, on screen. I looked normal, not performing, not proving anything. Just present. The anchor's voice stayed light, unaware of what it meant outside the frame. Hale Street Holdings now manages multiple residential properties across the region, focusing on redevelopment and long-term housing stability. My jaw tightened slightly. Grandpa said nothing. He didn't need to. Then the line came that changed everything. Public records show Hale Street Holdings has expanded rapidly in recent years, with assets now valued in the multi-million-dollar range. Not a number, a category, a spotlight. I didn't feel pride. I felt exposed, because exposure isn't neutral. It's an invitation. The segment ended with polite applause from the crowd in the footage. The anchor smiled, moved on, weather, traffic, like nothing had just shifted. Behind me, the landline rang. Sharp, old. Grandpa picked it up, listened for 2 seconds, didn't smile, didn't frown, just recognized it. Elaine, he said. My mother's voice came through, loud enough to hear. Walter, thank God, she said, breath tight. We need to talk about Marcus. Grandpa leaned back slightly. No, he said calmly. You need to talk to Marcus. He decides, if you get to. A pause. Then her tone sharpened. Don't do this, she snapped. This isn't the time for stubborn pride. Grandpa's eyes flicked to me. He covered the receiver. Speaker or not, he asked. I looked at the phone for a second, then nodded. He pressed the button. Set it down. My mother's voice filled the room. Marcus, she said. And the way she said my name, it wasn't warm, but it wasn't cruel either. It was careful, cautious, like she just realized the version of me she understood wasn't the one she was dealing with anymore. Marcus, my mother said again. I didn't answer right away. Silence stretched just long enough to make her feel it. I'm here, I said finally. No warmth, no edge, just presence. There was a small pause on the other end, like she was adjusting to something she didn't recognize. We saw the news, she said. I figured. My father's voice cut in quickly, tighter than usual. This isn't about that, he said. We have a situation. A situation. That was always their word for consequences. I didn't respond. Let them sit in it. My mother exhaled. Tessa made a mistake, she said, like it was a spill, like it could be wiped up. She meant to humiliate me, I replied. Flat, accurate. My father stepped in. Quieter now. Marcus, we're in trouble. That got closer to the truth. What kind of trouble, I asked. There was a pause. Then my mother rushed it out. Financial, she said. We're handling it. We just need to smooth things over. Smooth things over. Not fix, not own, manage. I leaned back slightly, eyes on the wall, not the phone. What happened? I asked. Another pause, longer this time. Then my father said it. Tessa has debt, my mother snapped. Defensive even now. She was trying to keep up appearances. She's been under pressure to look rich. Grandpa muttered under his breath. Not into the phone, just truth, sitting in the room. My mother's voice tightened. A lender called. She took out loans, used credit, fell behind. Now they're threatening to... She stopped. Threatening to what I asked. My father answered. To come after the house. There it was, not her consequences. Theirs. We co-signed. My mother added quickly. We didn't know it was this bad. I closed my eyes for a second. Not in frustration, in clarity. Let me guess, I said. She was going to fix it after the wedding. Silence. Then Marcus, my mother said, softer now. And for the first time in my life, I heard fear in her voice. We're going to lose everything, she said. I opened my eyes, looked at nothing, and remembered everything. The wine, the clapping. Her smile while I stood there, soaked, exposed, now her voice shaking. I didn't react to it, didn't enjoy it, just let it exist. A consequence, I said, quiet, accurate. My father's voice cracked. Please, he said, we're your parents. That line again. Always when they needed something, never when I did. My mother tried again. Different tone this time. Careful. We were wrong, she said. We shouldn't have laughed. We shouldn't have supported it. Tessa crossed a line. I waited, because apology isn't words. It's what comes after them. Can we come talk? She asked. As a family, I looked at Grandpa. He didn't speak, didn't decide for me, just held my gaze. Steady, don't let guilt make you generous. I turned back to the phone. You can talk, I said, a breath of relief on the other end. Not at my place. Pause. And not with Tessa. That landed. What my mother said. She doesn't get access to me, I replied. Not right now. My father rushed in. Marcus. She's no, I said. Flat, final. You don't negotiate my boundaries while asking for help. Silence. Then my mother. Tight. Fine, she said. Just us. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. Grandpa's house. My father exhaled hard. Thank you, he said quickly, like gratitude could replace accountability. Bring the paperwork, I added. Another pause. What paperwork, my mother asked. Everything you signed, I said. Loans, notices, co-sign agreements. She didn't like that, but desperation makes people cooperative. Okay, she said quietly. Grandpa reached over. Clicked the speaker off. Didn't say goodbye. The room went still. Different this time. Not empty. Controlled. I looked at the TV, some weather report replacing the segment that had just exposed me to people who only understood value when it benefited them. I didn't want them to find out like that. I said. Grandpa nodded. I know. A pause. Maybe you needed it. I frowned slightly. For what? He met my eyes. To see how fast they change when they think you're useful, he said. The word settled in. Heavy. Accurate. And to learn the difference, he added, between forgiveness and access. I didn't answer, because tomorrow wasn't about helping them. It was about deciding if they were still allowed anywhere near my life. At exactly 10:00 a.m., their car pulled into Grandpa's driveway. Slow, careful, like they were arriving somewhere that required permission. I stood near the living room window, arms folded, not tense, just contained. Grandpa stayed in his chair, calm, unmovable, the kind of calm that makes people who rely on performance feel exposed. My mother got out first, clutching a thick envelope like it was the only thing keeping her upright. My father followed, holding a folder tighter than necessary. No Tessa. That told me everything. This wasn't a family visit. This was a rescue attempt. They walked up the steps. Grandpa opened the door before they knocked. He didn't move aside immediately, just stood there, blocking. Elaine, he said, then Robert. My father nodded. My mother forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Dad's shoes off, Grandpa said. She blinked. What shoes off? He repeated. If you're bringing desperation into my house, don't bring dirt with it. My father complied first. My mother followed, cheeks flushed. They stepped inside. I didn't move, didn't greet them, didn't offer anything. They saw me, stopped. Marcus, my mother said softly. I waited. My father cleared his throat. Thank you for agreeing to talk. I looked at the folder in his hands. You brought paperwork. My mother nodded quickly. Yes, everything. Grandpa pointed toward the dining table. Sit. They sat. I stayed standing. My father opened the folder, spread documents across the table like evidence. Not emotion. Facts. Past due notices. Fees. Dates circled in pen. The kind of paperwork that doesn't argue. It just states. My mother slid one sheet closer. Please, she said. Just look. I did. Not as a son, as someone reading numbers. Default notice, deadlines. A line you don't cross unless you're already late. Where is she? I asked. At home, my mother said quickly. She's embarrassed. Angry she got caught, Grandpa corrected. My father leaned forward. Marcus, he said quietly, we're asking for help. There it was. I nodded once. I know. My mother's shoulders dropped slightly, relief trying to settle in. I didn't let it. You're not getting cash, I said. Both of them froze. And you're not getting access. My father blinked. What you want help? I continued. It happens my way. Grandpa didn't smile, but I saw it. Approval. I rested a hand on the back of a chair. Steady. I'll make one payment, I said. Directly to the lender, not to you, not to her. My mother's breath caught. That buys you time, I added. Nothing more. She nodded quickly. Yes, okay, and you do 3 things. They went still, listening. First, I said, you apologize to Lily, not for me, for what you did to her. No excuses. My father nodded immediately. Of course. Second, Tessa doesn't get my number, my address, or access to me through you. My mother flinched. She's our daughter, and I'm your son. I said, quiet. Sharper than raising my voice. She stopped. Third, I continued. You stop rewriting what happened. If anyone asks, you tell the truth. My father swallowed. That will make us look like what you were, I finished. Silence. Then Grandpa spoke, low, steady. That's the price of mercy. My mother nodded slowly. Okay, she whispered. My father followed. Okay. I looked at them for a moment. Not with anger, not with warmth, with distance. Because what I was offering wasn't a reset. It was a boundary, with a bridge attached. Nothing more, nothing less. The doorbell rang, sharp, certain. No one moved at first. Then Grandpa stood, not rushed, not hesitant, deliberate. He walked to the door and opened it just enough. I didn't need to see who it was. I already knew. Marcus. Tessa's voice came through, tight, uneven. I need to talk to him. No, Grandpa said. Simple. Tessa's tone sharpened instantly. You're seriously doing this. We're about to lose the house. You should have thought about houses, Grandpa replied, before you poured wine on a wedding suit. Silence. Then a shift. The edge dropped out of her voice. I messed up, she said. Not loud, not performative, just smaller. Grandpa looked back at me over his shoulder. Didn't ask. Didn't need to. I stepped forward, stopped a few feet from the door. Close enough to hear her, not close enough to be pulled in. I'm not letting you in, I said. She inhaled sharply. Marcus, you humiliated me, I continued. And you enjoyed it. No emotion in it, just fact. I'm not giving you access because things got hard for you. Her voice cracked. I didn't think it would go that far. Yes, you did. Silence. Then I'm sorry. I believed her. Not because she'd changed, because pain finally reached her. And pain teaches faster than empathy ever did in that house. I'm not carrying this anymore, I said. My mother made a small sound behind me. Tessa exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Thank you, she whispered. Don't confuse that with access, I added. Her voice thinned. So that's it for now, I said. If you want things to be different for a long time. Not for a crisis, not for money, no response. Just breathing on the other side of the door. Then okay. Footsteps, fading, gone. Grandpa closed the door, turned the deadbolt. One clean click. I walked back into the room. My mother was crying quietly at the table. My father stared at his hands like they didn't belong to him anymore. I didn't comfort them, didn't need to. I'll make the payment today, I said, but the terms stand. They nodded quickly, careful now, afraid to push. That afternoon, I paid the lender directly. No transfer, no middleman. One move, controlled. It didn't fix their lives. It gave them time to fix it themselves. Months passed. They sold the house, downsized. Tessa got a second job, stopped pretending, started adjusting. We didn't become close. We became something else. People who understood consequences. One evening, Grandpa and I sat on his porch, 2 mugs of coffee between us. Quiet, real. Forgiveness, he said, isn't saying they were right. I nodded. It's deciding that you're not carrying it anymore. He looked at me. But boundaries, he added. That's how you keep them from handing you a new version of the same problem. I let that sit, because now I understood. You can forgive someone and still lock the door. If you were in my position, would you forgive them and keep your distance, or cut them off completely? Tell me.